What's up guys, it's Mike here with Padbangers.com. It's gear check time. Today we start a multi-part series about Ableton Live controllers. I'm on the quest for my perfect Ableton Live setup and I want you guys to join me, and I'm trying to test as many Ableton Live controllers as possible. Today, part 1, we start with the latest generation Akai controllers with the APC MK2 and the APC Mini. So let's go. Alright, so let's have a look at the APC 40 Mark II first. First, let's talk about the quality. It's a really nice and big device with a lot of space between the knobs, so even guys with big hands can handle this pretty easy. It comes in a plastic housing, but it feels sturdy and solid to me. I wouldn't mind putting this unit on stage and use it there. The knobs have nice grip on it. The faders run really smooth. You got nice and clicky buttons. Quality is just nice. I can't complain about at all about this. On the back you got a foot switch input, a USB input, and a power button. And I really appreciate the power button because when you use this with your laptop and you're running on your laptop battery and you're doing a break, you don't have to unplug it to save your battery. You just turn it off and that's it. I think more devices should have a power button. I really appreciate that. Also, what's really cool is you don't need an external power supply for this. It runs all from your USB port. No external power supply is a huge plus here. So let's start with some of the features here. The APC really, as the name says, Ableton Performance Controller, it really focuses on the session view in Ableton Live. There's little to no function for the arranger view, nothing to browse sounds. The clips here are not meant to play drums or anything like that. It's really a nice clip launching device, and this works actually quite nice. So you get 8 tracks plus a master track, and you have control over those 8 tracks and 5 scenes in total. Of course, you can switch through different scenes and banks and stuff like that with the bank buttons right here. Also, when you hold down the shift button, you see the LEDs turn into this little section right here. And I hope you can see this on the video. There are actually 2 colors on the LEDs here. So the first one is orange, the other ones are red. And with these, you can jump through all your scenes into the project. So that's really cool. When you hold down the bank button, bank always jumps through the different patterns, just like here. When you deactivate the bank button, you jump one scene at a time, down, up, or one track right and left with the cursor buttons right here. Also really nice are the knobs above each track. They have different functions. You can select between pan, sense, and user. And in user mode, you can map these buttons to anything you want. Anything that's mappable in Ableton can be assigned to these knobs right here. That's really cool. Also, the LED rings around it give you always an indication what your values are and what you're actually doing. This works really nice. The soft buttons for launching the clips are multicolor LED buttons. They represent exactly the color you assign in Ableton to the clip, which is really nice. So you got a perfect overview over your whole project. and where you are in the project. When you start a clip, it turns green and it flashes, so you know this pad is actually playing. Below those, you got a full line of stop buttons, so you can stop either single clips, or on the scene launch master strip right here, you got a stop all clips button that stops all clips at the same time. Below the stop buttons, you got really nice and big select buttons, so when you're in a live performance and you want to select a channel, chances are really high you're hitting the right button here. And below the select buttons, you got the track control buttons. So first of all, you got a on and off button, you got a solo button, you got A and B buttons to route the track to the crossfader. Orange when it's on track A, and it turns red when it's on track B, and the third time you deactivate it and it's not influenced by the crossfader anymore. And you also got a record arm button, so this works really nice here. Below the track settings, you got your fader section. You got 8 tracks plus a master fader, and also on the master fader you got a Q level knob that comes in really handy if you want to pre-hear some sounds. Now for the faders, I gotta say, it represents exactly the values from Ableton, but the thing is, if you're like me, I like to, when I perform, I like to slam the fader down, mute the track, and then I slam the fader up again to bring it back in like I would do it in Tractor. But this is really dangerous here because I doubt you can see it, but you got some little marks here. So actually when you put the fader on top of its line, you're hitting the plus 6 dB value and not a 0 dB value like you're knowing it from DJ controllers. So that's really dangerous. You always got to make sure you set your levels not above like 2/3 of the way. And actually, well, that's a con for me because when I mix or use Ableton, I never go above 0 dB. Then I would rather work on my input signals than adjusting a signal above 0 dB. So yeah, that's not, for a performance controller, I think the better solution would be with a 0 dB value on top, so you can slam it right in. You still can mute the track right from the button, or you can use the crossfader to achieve the same effect. Alright, on the right side of the device, you got a little transport control, you got a play button, you got a record button to record scenes into the arranger view, and that's actually the only function that affects the arranger view here. And you also got a session record, so it's just overriding your recorded patterns, and you can add sounds and stuff like that. Below that, you got the tempo section where you can activate the metronome. You can tap in tempo, you can fine adjust the tempo via the knob. And what's really nice, when you sync Ableton to an external program like Tractor and you need to time sync those two devices with the notch buttons, you can lower or increase the tempo as long as you hold it. Think about it like in Tractor where you can speed up with the platters. You can speed it up a little bit, so you can manually adjust the synchronization here. So that's really comes in really handy sometimes. Below the tempo section, we get the device control. This 8 knobs here, they map to the device you have selected. You can browse through the devices with the buttons below, and you also got different banks. So when you're in the, for example, when you're in the EQ section, you can jump through different banks and you can reach every control in that plugin. But here comes the second big con, and this really makes the device control not functional for me at all, is you don't have like scribble screens. Actually, you never know what each button does. The banks are indicated in Ableton with the little info line, but that's it. It's really small when you're performing. You can't even read it on a laptop really good, so it's not working for me at all. It would work better if you could map these to your own devices. I'm not 100% sure if this is doable with like a third-party Max for Life device or something like that. I'm not sure about that, but the way it works here, it's not working at all for me. So you never know what you're looking at. Sometimes you can figure it out by looking at the values, but when you're on the EQ and you never know, are you going to change the frequency value now? Are you going to change the Q factor or the gain? Or you never know. That's really frustrating. Probably if you memorize all this after a few weeks, you probably get used to it. If you're using it only for the same devices, it might work, but the time I used it here, it really gave me a hard time and it was really frustrating. And I think for the price, it shouldn't be too hard to add 2 rows of little scribble screens that give you an indication of what values you're working with. So yeah, that's another con for me. You also can lock it to different devices. So let's say you want to always work with the EQ here. You lock the device and no matter what channel you're selected, it stays on that plugin. Also, you can switch between the different views here, between your node editor and your plugins. And you can also hide the details here so you have more view of your session view. That's it for the APC 40. Now let's power up the APC Mini and compare it to the APC 40. Then we will have a verdict for part 1 of the controller series. Stay tuned. Alright, so here we have the APC Mini and look at it. It's really a mini version. It's like 1/3 of the APC 40. So it's really small, but I have to say it's still really functional. You have almost the same features of the APC 40 in this little device. Of course, you have to work a lot with the shift knobs to reach those functions. But if you don't have much space in your live setup, or you just need a clip launcher, this can work really good. So let's get rid of the APC 40 and check the APC Mini out in detail. So first thing you might notice is you don't have multicolor soft buttons for the clips here. They either orange for stop or they turn green for a playing clip. So orientation in the clip is a little bit harder than on the APC 40, but still works good because you have more clip launcher buttons. You have more clip launching buttons than on the APC 40. You get an 8x8 grid, so you get 64 buttons. You get 8 tracks plus the master. And of course you can browse through the whole project. You just hold down the shift button and then the arrow buttons here come into play, so you can browse through your scenes and you also can browse through your tracks. This works really nice. Also, the faders can have multiple functions. Yeah, for the faders, same problem with the APC 40. It's even a little bit worse here because the fader movement is not as long as on the APC 40. So your adjustments have to be really precise so you don't push it over the 0 dB mark. So yeah, when you move it all the way to the top, it's also here at plus 6 dB and it can ruin your sound really quick. So yeah, you better put some limiters on your tracks when you want to slam the faders here. But you can not only use the faders for volume. When you hold down the shift button, you can select between pan, send, and device. So in pan mode, you're controlling the pan on the different tracks. When you hit it a second or third time, you can switch between all your return devices. So you reach all of your devices through this send button. But here's the same thing. You got no scribble screen, so you always have to check out where your status is. You never know, are you controlling send A, send B, send C, or whatever channel it is. You always gotta hit it and then check out where you're at. Okay, so now I'm on track B. I want to go back, hit it one more time. But you never know from just viewing on the device. That's not the best solution here. Also, with device is even worse than on the big APC because you have no indication at all what you're controlling here. To be honest, it's really useless. You can't get used to that because you have no indication, not even the LED rings or anything to know what values you're controlling here. It's just like picking in the dark. On the right side, you got your scene launching buttons where you can launch your full scenes, and you can stop all clips from here. And you also got your options to what the circle soft buttons down here are doing when you're not holding down shift. So you can set these buttons here to solo mode, to record arm, to mute function, or to reselect. And you can select all your different tracks. This works pretty good, but of course it makes you slow. So you can't say, I want to mute this track and then I'll turn solo on this. You always got to go the way over the shift button, which takes some time. But yeah, I mean, for such a little device, it's really cool to have all these functions in here. But of course, you need to figure out your way for live performing on how you can make it happen, so you're not wasting too much time. So yeah, that's it for the APC Mini. Quality is just as good as on the APC 40 MK2. Really nice little controller. Of course, no power button here, no foot switch input on the back, just a USB to hook it up and a Kensington lock to save it from thievery. But yeah, besides that, the faders feel really nice. The soft buttons are fantastic. They feel really good. Nice pressure point here. You really know what you're doing. Quality wise, thumbs up. Good job, Akai. Alright, so here's my verdict on the latest Ableton Live controllers from Akai. Let's start with the APC 40. It's a really nice device to control your session view and nothing else. It really focuses on the session view, so you can browse your library, you can load sounds into new tracks and stuff like that. It's really focusing, but it does that really nice. The multicolor soft buttons feel fantastic. They give you a nice overview over your project. You always know where you're at in your project. The knobs also feel fantastic. The LED rings work really good here. The faders run really smooth, but here's the first con. They go up to the 60B setting, so this can really ruin your whole performance by make sounds clip. This can really ruin your live performance when all your sounds get distorted and just pushed over the top. So I would prefer if they would just go to the 0dB setting, but okay, you need to get used to it. You can still use the mute buttons or the crossfader to achieve the same effect, so it's not too bad. The tempo settings are really nice. The notch settings are really cool if you sync it to an external program and it runs a little bit out of sync. Yeah, the device section, the knobs are just fine, but there are no screens. You never know what you're actually editing, so yeah, that's a little bit frustrating. For the price, I think it should be able to add some scribble screens here, and then it would be perfect for what it does. As I said in the review already, maybe there's a Max for Life device that gives you the value on screen and you can look it up there. I don't know. If you find something for it, then it will definitely do its job. But now the way it comes with Ableton itself, it's not really working for me. Maybe you got better memory and you can memorize all these pretty quick. I couldn't. So maybe it's just me, but not working for me here. Also, really cool is that you got a power button and that it's no external power supply is needed to run it. The LEDs are still bright enough to use it in sunlight. In general, I would say really nice device if you want to control your session view. Yeah, a pretty solid device, the Akai APC 40 Mark II. Now let's come to the APC Mini. For only $100, this thing really is a steal. It comes in so handy if you just want to have quick control over your project. Of course, no multicolor soft buttons here, but it still works pretty good for me. Also, it has almost the same amount of features than the APC 40 Mark II. Of course, you need a little bit longer to activate those features because you have to work a lot with the shift buttons and the submenus here, and it's hard to control multiple values at the same time. But for the price of $100, it's a no-brainer. Its quality is really nice, it's light, You can carry this around with you. I like the size. It's not too small to control all the scenes from it. Really cool. And what is really cool, and I didn't mention that earlier, but you can use multiple of these. You can also use this with the APC 40, or you could use up to, I think, up to 4 of these little guys here next to each other. So you could say on device 1 I activate the mute function, on device 2 I activate the solo function, and you can chain these up. And that's really a nice option. If you can't afford the APC 40 Mark II, you might want to start with one of these and then adding another and another. So that's always an option. And I really like that. For $100, really nice device. Highly recommended if you need just a quick launcher with some features. So yeah, that's it for part 1. In part 2, we covered the Novation Launchpad series. Unfortunately, I don't have the Launchpad Pro yet, so I'm looking at the Launchpad Mini, the Launch Control, the small one, and the Launchpad S. Stay tuned. It will probably online next week. I hope to see you guys again then. If you like the video, give it a thumb up. Shoot me some comments. And I hope to see you guys next time. Peace out.